Hello and welcome back to Adventures in Coloring with Amy. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. As promised on Tuesday, I am back with another Hello Bluebird scene to color up. And this time I did a mashup of some of the new stamps that were just released, as well as some of the older stamps that I have in my collection. And that is something I really personally love to do. I like to find kind of creative ways to mix up the characters and stamps in my stash to kind of breathe new life into them and create whole new stories. So I had a lot of fun putting this one together. I'll go through really quickly the stamp sets that I used to create this scene while we wait for everyone to find us. As I mentioned in the last video, the new release at Hello Bluebird sold out amazingly quickly. It was just a phenomenal release, and because it sold out so quickly, they immediately, put a rush on another order of the stamps. So they're expecting those in at the end of the month, and they have pre-orders up now so that you can get in on that and get them as soon as the stamps get to Hello Bluebird. They'll ship your order out. So if you missed out on release day, there's still a way to get them really sooner than you know. We're already halfway through the month, so it's not that long of a wait. And we've got Christiana here. So many of my favorites combined here. I'm so excited for this. Well, buckle in. It's going to be quite the project, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be a really beautiful card at the end of today. So, speaking of all the favorites, I guess I'll start with the new stuff. So, of course, I had to use that beautiful large pathway background that was just released. There it is. And because I'm stamped onto a A2 sized card base, it's that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The nice thing I like about this background being so large is that you kind of get to pick and choose which parts of it to showcase, and you can kind of change the scenes a little bit between your cards. So I had mine more over towards this side of the card, whereas the first time I used it, it was more on this side. So this was just a fun way to kind of get a little bit more mileage out of that stamp. Good morning, Alessandra. And then the other new stamp that I used set was the little Picked for You set. I used the little girl again and some of the flowers, the little flowers that were in that one. Then, because I wanted to pair her up, I had this vision of pairing her with some of my older stamps. I went to the Tabitha set, which is actually a Halloween release from this past Halloween. And I grabbed little Tabitha herself and inked her up. And before I stamped it, I took a baby wipe and I just wiped away the ink from her broom. So you'll see she's not holding a broom anymore. And I replaced it with one of the flowers from the Picked for You set. So she still had her hand held out like she was holding something. And so I just put a flower in there instead of a broom. And then I used the other little cat down here on their little picnic scene. And the picnic part comes from the strawberry jam set that has these cute little bird and mouse having a little picnic. And instead of using them, I just used the little, the bread and jam and cups from that set to set the scene for these two little girls. And then for my sentiment up here, I actually went with the Storybook Friends. And I used the Friendship Makes the Day Brighter sentiment. That's right down there. So, take a look at the stamps you have in your stash and kind of with fresh eyes and see what ones might work with other sets that you might not necessarily think of in the beginning. Because the great thing about these Hello Bluebird stamps is a lot of them, they kind of fall, I find, into like 3 size ranges that kind of work together, old and new. But like some of the characters are a bit larger and will work with the other larger ones, and then you got these more medium-sized ones that are kind of, they all are to scale with each other. So just, take a look at what you got and see what you can put together. It's a lot of fun that way. So we've got lots of people popping in, Diane and Christiana, and I know I'm missing people. It's scrolling pretty fast right now. But I don't want to take too much longer because we've got a lot of coloring to do. So I'm going to start pulling my colors. Hi, Amy. You're the highlight of my day. Well, I am glad that I can, be a little bright spot in your day today. It's definitely a highlight for me as well. It's, some much needed socialization that I'm kind of craving and missing these days. So I love popping on and coloring with all of you. All right, I'm just pulling some of my skin tone markers. Hello, Joyce. Happy to have you with us. All right, so I'm just going to get started. Actually, I pulled those skin tones. I'm going to wait. Okay, so one of the things when you're looking at this, and there's a lot of stamping, you're looking at a full piece of cardstock with image everywhere. And that can be a little intimidating. So I find the best way, you kind of, bite it off in pieces and start getting color down. And so it becomes less intimidating. And we're going to do that by kind of starting with the background, because it feels better to get the big parts done first, where you got lots of green for the grass, lots of sky. And once you have those colored in, it looks more manageable. So we're going to do it that way today. Christiana, yeah. So when you're masking, you always go for whatever's in front first, get stamped, and then mask, and you work your way back. So the background is actually the very last thing that I stamped. And I think I'm actually going to do a different kind of live, a non-coloring live, in the next couple weeks. That is just all about masking, because I've had a lot of people asking about that, and I think that'll be good to show. But yeah, general principle is whatever you want in front in your scene, you put that down first, then you mask it, and then you continue layering and back. And so I'll show my process in a video here in a couple weeks or so. All right, so now let's get our grass out of the way, or started at least, because that's going to narrow it way down by getting all that green colored in. Yeah, you're not the only one, Christiana. Like I said, I've had some questions about it, so I figured it would be a great thing to go over just for everyone, just to kind of see my process. Okay, so I'm going to start with this YG01. It's nice and bright. I'm just going to get a base coat down of it. And this is what it's going to kind of let you once you get this all colored in, you'll just feel like, okay, I can do this. It's a little bit more manageable. There's less area to, color. Now, this is called the pathway set because there's this little pathway running through the scene. But what I like about it is it doesn't necessarily have to be a pathway. It can just be another rolling hill in the scene. So that's what I'm going to do on this card to kind of change the look up once again. So I'm going to color this space that could be the path green instead of going with kind of a more dirt brown path. So I just thought that would be a fun way to get a whole new look with this background stamp. I can color right over the leaf of that little flower she's holding, because it's going to be green too. A little bit slightly different green, but it's not going to hurt it to have this base of YG01. So just, again, these leaves down here can get a base of that YG012. Just anything I can do to speed up the coloring process. You don't have to be so finicky about every little thing down here if they're all going to kind of generally be in the same color family. It's lunchtime and Amy coloring. Woohoo, win-win. What are you having for lunch today, Annie? Anything good? So I'm just a little bit more careful as I'm working around the characters so I don't accidentally get too much green into them. And working around those little flowers. Okay. And when I stamped the background stamp, there's actually kind of a little section of grass and rocks that kind of fall here. But it would have looked a little awkward cutting them off with my little blanket. So I just neglected inking that part up so that I had a nice wide open space down there for their little picnic blanket. Okay. I need that color. I don't have it. It's a great green. It especially, here in the spring, I really like starting with a YG01. It's just a really vibrant, that kind of new grass, that new shoots of growth, are that really bright yellow green, and it's a great base to start with. Arby's Market Fresh Turkey Sandwich. That sounds really good, actually. Oh. All right, so now, and see, already it feels a little bit more manageable. It's, there's not so much white staring you in the face and like, what do I do? All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit different base on our bush back there so that it's kind of separate from our grass, has a different tone to it. And I'm going to start it a little bit darker, I think. With the 03. Hello, Melissa. How are you today? Oops, I don't want the chisel end. I want that brush end. All right, so now I'm just going to go a little bit darker green up here on the bush. My first card that I made with this background set and the little gal, I colored up I did it yellow like a forsythia, which I have in my yard, and they're all bright yellow and in bloom right now. So that's another way to kind of change up the look of things. I think this would actually be really pretty in the fall, kind of in a purpley red, burning bush kind of look. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what all the different cards I can make with this background throughout the year. We'll go ahead and do that up in the tree as well. We're really going to start filling in space just so that this looks a lot more manageable and we're not freaking ourselves out over all the coloring we're going to be doing. And it is. I'm not, going for texture yet or, detail. It's just getting color down. Sharon, I love the addition of the kitties too. I am a cat person, so I have kitties. So I love the Hello Bluebird kitties, especially. They're very sweet. So I couldn't resist adding them into their little scene. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do for now. We're going to add more depth and dimension to it. But right now I'm just kind of mapping things out. So I'm going to continue now with the sky and start getting our blue in. And I think I'm going to start with a B12. A little bit darker. B12 or maybe B52. I always love B52. It's got a little bit of gray to it. Yes, I was trying because, I love that little guy too, and he's in that Halloween set. You can put the little potion bottle in his paws or whatever. So when I was thinking, what do I want him to be playing with? And that's when I came across the strawberry jam set. And I saw those little cups, and right away I was like, okay, that's it. They're having a picnic, and he's being a naughty little kitty down there. All right, so there's this big bank of clouds back here. So really my dark blue, you're not going to see much of it. Just a little bit back here. And it's not dark, but in comparison to the rest of the scene, it's going to appear to be a darker blue. All right, so that's all. That's going to be straight B52. But, so now I'm going to grab out a B00. And I'm going to start kind of following the sweeps of those clouds. And you'll notice I'm holding the marker way back here. So I have a nice, loose, long, kind of an elongated brush stroke. And I'm very much using more of my wrist or my elbow to create that long, flowing brush stroke. That's just something to think about when you're coloring. If you're holding way down here, yes, you have a lot of control and you get nice tight strokes, but that's not necessarily what you want when you're doing something that's a little bit more airy and flowing. And so you want to really pay attention and adjust your grip on your marker to see the different kind of look you can achieve that way. Christiana's a dog person, but I have so many cat people friends that I think I own more cats than dogs. Need to grab the Tabitha set. Yes, you do. Yeah, it is technically a Halloween set, but I think it's got a lot of versatility to it, where it could definitely be worked into different kinds of different kind of cards, because especially since they didn't put the little witch hat on her, so you have that option of really using her in other scenes, other types of cards. And I love dogs too. I did have a dog for many years. He just my little Yorkie Duke, and he passed away last October. Actually, he was just old and 14 years old and deaf and blind at that point, but I loved him very much, and miss him a lot. But I do have my kitties, and they keep me hopping. I always say, because I work in a dog boarding facility and grooming, it's what my sister and I do, and I always kind of joke that I work hard with dogs to have create a better life for my cats. They get spoiled off of my hard work with the dogs. All right, so there I've got some nice sweeping clouds starting through there. I am going to pick up, the reason I left out my B52, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of that B52 on some of the artist drawn lines, just to give me a little bit darker blue. Well, thank you, Alessandra. I mean, yes, that's the one downside of owning pets, our dogs and our cats and whatever little critters we fall in love with, is just, their little lifespans are just never long enough, are they? Okay, so I can put that B52 away. And that B00. And I'm going to go down to... Oh, I'll probably pull it with a B quad. Either the triple or the quad would work. Sharon's doggy died about 2 years ago, and our cat died maybe 10 years ago, and I still really miss him. Oh, I know. They absolutely take a piece of their heart with you, your heart with them when they go. We actually have this quote or kind of sign in our shop, and I don't know it verbatim, but basically it boils down to, every dog that they have owned, gives you a piece of their heart when you take them in, and when they pass, they leave. They take a little bit of your heart with them, and he's like, so my only consolation is that I can live long enough to have had so much love from the animals in my life that by the end of my lifetime, my heart is basically made up of their hearts. And it always tears me up. You can hear it. I gotta grab a tissue. It really touches me, and I really kind of believe that. All the little four-legged loves that we bring into our lives are lucky enough to enjoy. All right. Now that I got all blubbery and emotional, let's continue on with coloring. So I'm just pulling out those blues a little further each time, and with this really light quad, because I don't want to lose the white. That's always the key whenever you're creating any kind of white object, is to leave some white. Otherwise, it'll just look like more blue sky over here. But by being really selective, now we've got a really wispy cloud bank back there. That looks really cool. Okay, and just like that, I mean, look at how much different it looks. Like, oh, I've got a lot done, and it hasn't taken that long at all. All right. Now, so we can put the blues away. I'm going to pull out some browns for that tree trunk, because that'll help. It'll look like half the card's already done when we do that. So I'll start it. Oh, let's go with like E40s, I think. They always work well. Maybe mix in a little bit of 30. All right, that'll get us going. E31 is what I'm going to start with. And again, just like everything else, just giving myself a nice space where I'm just filling this all in with that light brown. Okay. Now I'm going to jump over to my E40s. All right, so I think now this is where I got to kind of decide if I'm going to have, a very specific light source and which side it's coming in from before I start adding in kind of the depth and dimension. And I think for this one, I'm going to kind of imagine my sunlight, coming in from this side of the card, the left-hand side. So I'm going to make my shadows a little bit heavier on the right-hand side of objects in this scene. So like for the trunk of the tree, I'm going to start putting my shadows in Definitely, underneath the leaves, that canopy of leaves is going to create its own shadow. But then on the on the right hand side of this tree trunk as well, I'm going to start kind of laying in my shadows. I kind of like to hit that knot in the tree, and then I just kind of follow some of these little crooks and movement in the bark, create little dips and bends. So it's not a smooth tree, it's kind of old, craggy, lots of bark and stuff going on. Okay. E44. Really hit this knot in the tree with that. And then up under the leaves. Okay. And there's really the nice thing about it. It's so loose and sketchy. You can't go wrong adding lines anywhere you want. It's like just kind of build that tree up any way you want. Now I'm going to go back down to that E43. I'm going to start kind of creeping into that lighter area a little bit more, filling it in just a touch more here and there. I almost think I want to bring in a little bit more of a warmer brown, so I'm going to find my E33. There we go. And kind of take it over everything. Still leaving a little bit of the lighter areas light, but I'm going to fill in a lot with this. This is just going to warm up that tree. I think if I was doing more of a fall scene, I would definitely stick with these E40s, maybe even go a little bit darker with like an E47, because it would definitely has a lot of gray to it and be kind of a bit more spooky looking. But we want this to be a spring tree, so I'm going to get a little warmth into that bark. But the E40s are great because they give me a really nice shading underneath. And then I'll finish with that E31 that I started with. So it really just becomes all about layering those colors and letting them, affect each other as you build them up one on top of each other. All right. There we go. Very pretty tree there. I just realized I forgot to put my glasses on. It's like, no wonder I couldn't see very well. Okay, here we go. Ready to rock and roll. All right, so let's go ahead and get those tree leaves taken care of. I've got my 0 out because I got a little bit of brown into my cloud there, and I wanted to push it back in towards that trunk of the tree. Okay, so I have a base of YG03 up there. I think I want my leaves to be a bit darker. So, which direction do I want to go? I think I'm going to go with like a YG07. I'm just going to kind of dot in. It's kind of just a kind of squiggle type motion. I'm not covering over the entire base of the 03. I'm going to let some of that show. I'm just kind of knocking in a little bit more color here and there. And it's kind of, especially as we have more leaves showing over here, I'm going to be a little bit more heavy-handed with anything that's kind of on the right-hand side of the card, since I have my light coming in from the left. Okay. And from there, I think I'm going to go with like a G07. It's one of my favorite greens. It's just a really pretty, vibrant green. And again, now I'm using much more of just the tip of the marker, so I'm getting a little bit more fine of an application of color. So I have a little bit more control over how much ink is going down as I'm kind of spotting it in there. And that underside of the branch is definitely going to have a lot more shadow to it, so I'm going to be a little bit more generous with my darker greens down here. Don't forget little bits on these leaves here. Hello, Christine. So much love you give us. You give it right back. Honest to God, you guys don't know how much of a lifesaver these lives have been for me during this, sheltering in place and kind of lack of being out amongst the people. So at least I get these opportunities to chat it up and have fun with you. All right, and I want to go one darker, just in a few areas. So I'm going to pull out my BG99. Hello, Donna. Happy to have you with us today. This is like a master class. Oh, you make me chuckle. But thank you. All right. So again, even more so using just the tip of the pen. Very fine little dots just to kind of create those little undersides, those little sections of the leaves that just are back in the shadows, not getting hit by a lot of light. And because the nice thing about this, like I've been saying every time, getting the darks in, being bold with your color choices and getting brave with the darker colors really enhances. It makes those lights look lighter, those brights look brighter by having that contrast in there. So don't be scared of those darker markers in your collection. Really make them work for you. Oh, and in case I forgot to mention it at the top of the video, I am working on Catherine Pooler cardstock today, and I'm, of course, using my copic markers that I always color with. And I'm coloring, I got it cut to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, that A2 size card base. Okay. Annie's got to go. Back to work she goes. Well, thanks for spending your lunch with us, Annie. Donna, I'm at work and I don't have to worry that I'm caught online. Oh, good. Ah, Christiana's on top of it. She's making her list and checking it twice. I remember those days. It was so fun building my collection of copics. At the time, it was much more, there wasn't Facebook and Instagram and stuff, so it was all about blogs and people blogging. And I can remember, I had favorite bloggers and colorists that inspired me, and I'd create little lists as I'd look at, cards that they had made and I admired. And that's how I built my collection, was based off of those lists of the colors that they used. And those were good days. I always looked forward to those mail days. YG07. So I'm just working my way back down, softening and kind of melding some of those colors together. A little bit more, especially that BG99 there at the end. Just knocking it back a little bit. And then we'll end with the 03 that we started with. And we've got a happy little tree, as Bob Ross would say. Happy little tree. Just living its best life out here. Looking over their picnic. Okay. Now, back to our grass. But look at that. I mean, it hasn't been bad at all, and we've already got it. Feels like half the card done. The easy half, but half, All right, so we have our bush was YG03 base. Let's go a little bit different direction on that one. And let's go G43 in here. And again, keeping in mind where my light's coming from. Actually, I have a card that you sent me, Amy, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It hangs on my card gallery. Oh, I won it in a giveaway on your blog. Oh my gosh, that's a blast from the past. I'm tickled to know that it's still giving you enjoyment. All right, and from there, let's go like a YG, like 90, 93. Get a little bit of that funky YG90 color going on in this bush. Again, another one with a lot of gray to it. So it gives you nice shadows and shading. I'm going to go up one higher with those 90s. A sweet little fairy holding a daisy like an umbrella. Oh, that is so cool. Like I said, that makes me smile today. Thanks for sharing and letting me know. That's what cards are supposed to do. That's why we make them in the first place, Send them out, make somebody smile and, brighten their day. And then if they choose to hang on to it and continue to let it brighten their, days on afterwards, that's even more awesome. There we go. And I am not even going to go back down on that. I was working quickly enough that the cardstock stayed wet enough that it kind of blended enough on its own that I don't want to lose that nice kind of texture that I got since it's supposed to be a bush. I don't want to blend it out too much. I want to retain that texture. So I'm just going to leave that bush as is. All right, now we've got our grass. I am going to definitely add some YG03 in here as well. Let's see where we are. All right, and we'll start down low. And again, I'm going to take this one right over those leaves in those flowers. I'm not going to worry about them too much yet. Again, just kind of loosely sketching in color. Trying to not miss any little spots, but it can happen. You can get rather myopic as you're coloring, and things that seem obvious they get missed until you're like almost completely done coloring and you see one little random white spot somewhere and it's like, oh, I completely missed that ear, or that little spot of grass. All right. Okay. I'm going to add some back here. And back here. Okay. Now from there, I'm going to pull out some 25. And again, being more careful. I don't want to, take a lot of green into her legs or our little kitty down here. And I'm not taking it up as high as I did the other two greens that I've put down, leaving kind of the top of that hillside brighter and lighter, so it looks like it's getting, that it's kind of sloped and getting more light up there and then less light as it slopes down the hill. And we'll kind of skip up and do the underside of this hill with a little touch of that 25. Really loose and sketchy. I'm not worrying about it being really pretty and well blended yet. I'm just getting color down. Now I have to go search your blog so I can see it. Well, she did say it was like 8 years ago or so. I would imagine it was probably a fair wee of some sort, maybe. All right. Now I'm going to start adding in some gray tones to my grass to make it look a little bit more natural, not quite in your face bright. So I like my YG63 for that. Especially under these objects, it's going to help kind of create those kind of cast shadows back there. I'll start working between these kind of blades of grass or leaves that are going on here. Hit our little patches of flowers, and then our little gals too are going to get their little drop shadow down. That's going to really help ground them in place. And just so because I have my light source coming in from the left, I'm going to take her shadow and pull it longer to the right. It'll be the same for this little gal back here. Go under those rocks. So you're going to cast some little bit of shadow there too. And then just a little bit, little ways up, but not all the way to the top back there. And then again, okay, skip and go down to the bottom of this slope now. It's going to get some of that shading added in. That hill back there. We'll add a little bit just to kind of distinguish between the rolls of the hills. But not too much on these ones because they're getting hit with a lot more light. Except for as it makes the turn on the back side of that hill. Okay. Christiana, thank you. That would be awesome. Yes, a fairy. I was right. All right, now G94. And if you've been watching my videos this week especially, I think this has been, or a version of this, pretty much stays the same on each card that I've done, for the grass. It's just kind of my go-to current favorite combo for these kind of spring grassy yards or meadows, whatever I'm coloring. This is the combo that I'm feeling at the moment. So I'm using it quite a bit. All right. Get a little bit under these rocks back here on the back side of this hill. Just sketch in a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to work our way back down and just start blending them out. So this is where we've got all our colors down. It's time to make them look good. All right. So now, as I pull color, I'm creeping in more, and I'm really letting the markers start to sit on the paper a little bit longer. I think I might just do this in pieces. We'll do our top hill first. Hello, hello, just tuning in. Well, you are tuning in at a good point. We're just kind of finishing up the majority of the background. We're going to start working on our characters soon, our little picnic scene. All right, so 1 hill down, 2 to go. Carefully working around our little characters here. Very much using more the side of the brush nib to get a wide path of color. Well, thank you very much. I think it's coming along nicely. They'll really come to life once we get these little girls and kitties started to get colored in. They're going to really bring the whole scene together. All right, so back to that YG63. Just smoothing everything out. Taking my time, letting that marker rest in the cardstock, soak in that ink. Okay. Continuing with the YG25, it's going to add some of that brightness back in for that fresh green look. My marker is talking to me. It's telling me it's going to need some ink soon. Okay. Now, don't want to grab the wrong marker. That 03. And that 01 to finish on the top of the hill there. Let's see how we look. Not too shabby at all. All right. Start putting some of these away. Now, before I put the greens away, I'm going to finish these little random leaves down here. Let's go. Let's pull out something a little bit more green, just to make them look a little bit different. So I'm going to do a G05. We'll even start hitting the little leaves in her basket here. Okay. And from there, I think I'm going to go to YG09. And this is just going to help so they aren't as so blendy in with that grass, that we know it's two different types of growth or foliage going on down here. Although I do want to grab back out that 03, just so we've got a nice little bit of yellow-green in the basket as well. Since this does technically have a base of yellow-green on these leaves down here, we want to make them match a little bit more. Okay, I think we have gotten all of our green elements taken care of. Look at that. Not so scary anymore. Now it's like, oh, I just got 2 girls, 2 cats, and some picnic stuff to color. Not bad, not bad. All right. So let's go ahead and start tackling our little gals. I've got my skin tones out already. I'm just going to use my kind of go-to Caucasian skin tone because it's quick and I can rely on it turning out. And since we're, we don't want this to be a epic 4-hour-long video or anything, we'll just try to make everything as quick as we can. And again, even on these guys, I got to remember my light source that I've established. And I've established that it's coming in from the left over here. So all my shadows are going to be heavier on her on the right. E11's next. I just adore these little gals. I think they are so sweet. And I have not been, I've been not so secretly begging for some mermaid versions of them sometime soon from Hello Bluebird. So fingers crossed that that will happen sometime, because I would be in heaven to see a little mermaid set with little gals like this. So now I'm back to that 00, and I'm just kind of softening and pulling out the 11 that I just put on. Creeping in a little bit more, but not filling in the white space completely, because I want to save a little bit of that white space to fill in with my very lightest, which is that E000. And while that's wet on the cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and use my R00 and R20 to add a little bit of blush to the cheeks. I don't know if I'm seeing people pop on. Not seeing any comments, so hopefully I didn't lose comments and I'm not missing anybody trying to talk to me. So I'm not ignoring you. If you're trying to say anything, I swear I just haven't seen any new comments in quite a while. So now I'm going in and I'm adding in my final bit of contrast. I like a little bit of dark to make those lights look lighter. I actually am going to take off both ends of the marker because I know I just refilled this not too long ago, and I would hate to have do all this work and have it blob out on me and have to try to fix it. Okay. Look at her already starting to come to life. Now I'll work my way back down with that E11. And then the E00 again. Basically just leaving that kind of brow ridge for my very last pass with the 000. A lot of it's getting filled in with this 00 at this point. And just quick flick up here with that 000. Okay, moving on to girl number 2. We'll go ahead and get the skin done on both of these. All right. E11. I know I lost comments at the end of the last video when I was asking about spots on the bunny or not. Nothing was coming in. That one at least was at the end of the video. Now I'm kind of worried that I'm going to be all on my own on picking colors on these guys if I can't read what you guys are saying. All right, back to my E00. And that 000. She'll need a little bit of flush to her cheeks as well. Adding a little bit of pink in with this R20. Got a little crazy there. I'm going to soften it up with that R00. There we go. Now, adding our contrast in with that E04. Excuse me. Got a little tickle in my throat. Okay. So now I'm just working my way back down through my colors with that E11, pulling it out. The E00. Pull that a little bit more. A little heavier handed since she's kind of facing the light a little bit more that way. Now, finish it off with that 000 right here on the front of her face. And that arm. And the leg. All right. All right, now's the time. I guess I'm going to find out for sure whether I've lost comments or not. Because I'm going to, if anybody's got a suggestion for a hair color, let's see if something comes through. If not, I'm just going to have to wing this on my own. So right now, all I'm getting are people joining. I get the option to wave at everybody, but I think I may have lost comments for good on this one. But I don't want to stop and start over again, so I'm going to apologize for not being able to see what you guys are saying or be able to chat specifically and answer questions, but I'll just keep plowing through, and I'm going to try to read your minds and see what we're suggesting out there. So let's go with a blonde on this gal. I can't remember what I did on her the first time. I'm going to say brunette, but I could be wrong. But we'll go blonde. For some reason, I'm thinking blonde on her. Let's do an E21, 55. All right. Yep, I think I lost comments. Dang it. I don't know why that does that sometimes. Darn Facebook. Okay, so E50. That's what I'm going to start with. It's going to be really subtle, so it's not going to pick up very easily on the video, I'm afraid. But it's there, and it's doing its job. It's kind of building the layers for me. Okay. Then I'm going to go to an E21. I'm just using the tip of the pen to do really fine little brush strokes, adding in the darker colors. Tend to go from the part out, part in the hair. I flick it out in a nice quick movement. Then I'm going to follow the curve of the bangs here with my brush strokes. And pull out on that side as well. Okay. Oh, don't want to forget kind of the underside where it's tucking in under the hair there. Now I'm going to go, and this is totally optional. You could do this combo without the Y32, but the Y32 is going to give it a little bit of more of a golden glow, which I think will be sweet in this scene. And that's just going to go right on top of the E21. And the E21 helps make this Y32 look a little bit more natural. Not so like kind of a fake brassy yellow or cartoony yellow. Gives it a little bit more richness and depth. That's why I like layering those two together for hair. Okay. Now, because our darks make our lights look lighter, I'm going to get a little bit darker. With an E55. I just kind of pull from wherever the hair is kind of pulled tight. It'll be a little bit darker. And hitting the bottom of those bangs will kind of help create the curve around her forehead. Okay. And I'm going to work my way back down. A little bit more of that Y32, I think. Golden it all up. And then to the 21 again. You can see I'm starting to creep in to the white space I've been leaving up until now. But I don't want to fill it in completely with those darker colors. I'll save that for my E50. Give it a nice wash. And even leaving a little bit of white here and there is really going to help a blonde look lighter and brighter. Okay. Let that dry a little bit. And then I'm going to take my darkest color one more time. And I like to take use just the very tip of the pen with a very light stroke. And I'm holding it low so I have a lot of control. And I'm going to do pull some low lights through those highlight areas. And that's just going to give us a nice play of contrast. Breaking it up, making it look a little less like a solid kind of helmet and give it some texture, kind of strands of hair here and there. All right, don't want to go too crazy. She'll start looking more like a brunette than a blonde, but I think we've got a good, kind of what I was going for, kind of that straw, kind of hay colored kind of blonde hair. I'm liking it. It looks nice with the background we've got going on. All right, so now for this little gal, I think we'll make her a brunette. Let's start with an E23 on her. Again, just kind of working from that part, pulling out on either side. She's a little bit more disheveled, and I imagine more the tomboy of the pair of them. She's a little bit more prim and proper looking. And this girl's been wrangling kitties, I think, with her hair being all kind of slightly a mess. All right, so that was E23. Let's go E57 from there. I'll make a jump. Leaving still some nice highlights for now. I don't want to go too heavy-handed. But I am going to be more generous with my color on this side of her head, because it's going to be hit by less light than that side. Okay. And then from there, I think I'm going to jump all the way up to a 79. Now, the way I can, I'm very confident about jumping from the different kind of families, as long as, let me take the lids off. In general, I'm trying to build my combos based off of the last number on my color choices. So, 3 is less than 7, 7 is less than 9. And so that's how much, so it doesn't matter what my first number is. I can play around with those colors as long as I'm generally building from lowest to highest number on those last numbers on my copics. And that, once you kind of are comfortable with that, then you can skip around and start mixing all the different browns and see what you get. Just so long as these consecutively go up, or go down if you start from dark down to light. So that's just kind of how I pick my colors, if you're wondering. Now I can find caps for these guys. Okay. Back to coloring. So that's 79. And this is nice and dark, so I'm going to be pretty stingy with it. I don't want to go too crazy. But I do want to add that little bit of contrast in. So again, just very fine strokes, very quick little movements with the tip of the pen. Okay, now I'll work my way back down. Oh, good. Hey, it came back. My thing flashed that it was off, and now all of a sudden I can see comments again. Thank you, Nicole, Gail, Alessandra. Okay, awesome. Yay, hopefully I don't lose you guys again. I hope you approve of the colors I was going with on this hair. I felt bad not getting suggestions from you all. Yay, yay, yay! I don't know what happened, but the Facebook gods are smiling on us, I guess. We'll just hope it remains that way. Oh, the colors are great. Thanks, Diane. Back to that E23. Oh yeah, I did have an idea up there. We can still do it, luckily. It's stunning. Thank you, Alessandra. Love those color combos. Added them to my hair color collection. Awesome. Glad to hear it. I think you'll enjoy playing around with them. Okay. Now, I don't think I'm going to go so dark as the 79 to kind of cross through my highlights. So I'm just going to go to my medium tone, which is the E57, to kind of add back in some individual strands of hair here. And that's just a personal choice. Because I want a nice kind of chocolatey brown. I don't want her to go too dark. And I'm afraid if I grabbed out the 79 again, that's where it would head. So I'm just going to flick in some quick lines with that 57. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Like I said, she's a little bit of a tomboy, and she's not got such tidy little pigtails as our other gal there. All right, so now before I put away those browns, I actually had a plan before I started coloring that I completely forgot about once I started going, but I can do it now because I didn't add too much color. You know, there's just those very light blues back there, but I wanted to kind of incorporate that sentiment into the scene so it wasn't just a floating random sentiment, which is okay. I do that a lot where I just have it stamped in, but it's also kind of fun to kind of incorporate them in so they become part of the scene themselves. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like there's a sign hanging from the branch of that tree. So I'm going to grab out that E31. And I'm just going to color right over our sentiment here. Just kind of create a quick little rectangle around it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of, you know, it's a block of wood. They didn't take their time to it's probably what, old recycled barnwood. We'll say that's what it is. So it doesn't have to be like perfect edges or anything. Okay. And now let's grab out, like a 35, I think. And we're going to use this, make it look a little bit dimensional. So I'm going to go some shadow opposite our light source there. And then on the bottom, of that block of wood. And then we can also even take very lightly, very much just using the tip of that marker again. I'm going to kind of put in some random lines for that, the grain of the wood. Not too many because I don't want to lose the sentiment completely, but I'm going to knock it back down with one more pass of that E31. I think I'm going to grab out one of my E40s to really help sell the shadow on that side. So let's grab E44. Another one of those magic markers that I use quite a bit. We'll just add a little bit more shadow on this side. Okay. And then let's do just an E49. Let's see. Here and here. And then I'm going to grab, because I want it to be a really fine line, just a black pen. I've got my Copic multi-liner, and it's a 0.1, nice and fine. And we will have a line come up and wrap around our branch. We can even make a little tie mark up there. And then we'll just have another line. All right, so now that I think it's a fun little touch, They got their little spot and they marked it with their little sign, and I think it's sweet. Loving the sign, awesome, good. Okay, so now we can put those away. Let's go ahead. While I've got my browns and neutrals out, let's color our kitties. What kind of kitties? What kind of patterning are our kitties going to have? Since you guys didn't get a say in the hair, now you guys get to pick the kitties, what they're going to look like. All right, so one of them is going to be an orange and white tabby, according to Christiana. And the other one's going to be gray. So we've got an orange and white tabby and a gray tabby. I like that. Another vote for gray. Okay, so let's start. Let's make our orange and white tabby this little guy down here. And I'm going to start with E50 for a base, a nice warm kind of creamy white base on our little tabby here. And it can basically go all over. We're just getting that base coat down. I'm going to go up to an E51 next. Okay. And then we want to gray it up a little bit. So this is where it's nice to pull in a little bit of that E42 will do the job, giving me a little bit of shading without going too dark in this white part of our tabby's fur. If you don't have E42, like a W2 would work as well. It'd be a little bit more gray, but it would give you the shading that you're after as well. And then you just blend it back out with the 50 E50. Okay. Got, let's see, our 000, add a little bit of pink into those ears, as well as I like R30. And let's go ahead and give him a little pink nose. Okay, so I'm letting that white base kind of dry a little bit before I go in with the orange parts of the fur. But I think that's probably pretty good. I'm going to grab out a YR31, and we're just going to start laying in our little tabby stripes. And give him that little kind of M marking that those little tabbies kind of have. Like so. And nice orange ears as well. Now we got to get darker. So from there, let's see where I want to go. That was YR31. I think from there, I'm going to go over. Decisions. I'm going to go YR24. Yep, there we go. Let's see. Just trying to figure out the patterning I want to do. Kind of with the way his legs are bending. It's a little awkward, but I think I can figure it out. Let's add a little stripe in over here. Okay. We'll go a little bit darker, and I think I'm going to do that. Jump over to my E90s with like the E97. And at this point, I'm just kind of dotting the color in. I don't need too much because I don't want to lose, you know, the white parts of him. Okay. Now I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And then I'm going to take that E31 and just kind of pull over all of that to however much, you know, I want to keep, like he's got the little white boots and the little white tip of his tail, but I want to fill in a lot of the body with this lighter now. Just like that. We'll keep his little muzzle white. And there we go. Now for our gray kitty. Darling, I'm glad you like him. All right, so our little gray kitty. Let's do our little gray kitty. Oh, and some W's, I think. I think some warm grays will be cute. All right. We can even do the white parts of him. That's a nice thing with the gray. I'm just going to start with the W0. And this will give some shading to our white parts. So like we use the E50s, a little more earth tones. On our orange tabby, we'll stick with grays for the white parts on our gray tabby. So that just makes sense. Thank you, Sandra. You know, it's kind of why I call my page Adventures in Coloring. It's about being bold and brave and just kind of going for it. It's like you get a vision in your head and just go for it. Don't let it, you know, fear hold you back. Be brave and adventurous with your coloring. And that's what I definitely try to do. It's like, you know, I kind of welcome challenges, things that I haven't done. It's like, you know, well, I want to try them sometime. So it's like, might as well go for it. It's just how you grow. All right, so there's the white parts of our little gray tabby. Add in some pink in those ears. Yes, you are. Well, and I encourage you guys to be brave and bold too. That's why I'm here and doing this. All right, so now our little tabby lines. Let's go jump up to a W4. Start putting in our little stripes. Like that. He'll get his little markings too. I think we definitely want to go a little bit darker with our stripes. So I'm going to jump up. Oh, maybe to a W6. I've heard you should use W's for living things and C's for non-living objects. Your thoughts? I don't necessarily agree with that. I can see why some people would go with that, and it would be an easy, simple rule to kind of follow as you're getting started, because the C's, the cool grays, definitely give you a more metallic look, a little bit more hard and cold. But there are things like, because I think of my grandmother has beautiful silver gray hair. I mean, it's just white, silver white. And I would not be able to color that same kind of silver gray hair with any of the grays except for the C's. And she's very much a living thing. So I wouldn't say it is a hard and fast rule at all. And again, because I definitely use warm grays. If I'm doing like a wool coat or wool pants on a character, technically the pants, even though they're wool and they used to be a living thing, are no longer a living thing. But you definitely wouldn't get the same look using the cooler colors to try to replicate that. So I wouldn't say it's hard and fast, but as you're getting started, it might be a good way, something to keep in mind. But it definitely, rules are made to be broken. So, yeah, I wouldn't completely subscribe to that. There we're getting a nice dark stripe on our tabby. And I'm just kind of squiggling in the color, kind of making these generic kind of triangle or pizza slice shapes to create those stripes where they're wider on one end and they narrow on the other. I'm leaving the belly white, so I'm not taking this darker color too far in. Okay. And then let's go back with that W1. Just kind of pull our gray and create whatever kind of marking, kind of mask we're going to do. Decide how much white we're going to leave showing. Again, I like leaving the little white boots, probably because I had tabbies and they had little white boots. I'm going to take that W0 and just soften here. Okay, and I think, though, I do need a little bit of a drop shadow. Even though I'm leaving the belly white, I'm going to take a W2 and just under her hand and that sleeve, give it a little bit of a shadow there. So it looks like she's really hanging on to him. And then I'm going to take an even darker W. Just grabbed a 9 because it was handy. Any of the darker ones will do. And we'll give him a little black nose. There we go. And I like to leave a little bit of white anytime I'm doing, the black noses on the kitties or the dogs, because it just makes it look a little shiny, a little wet like they usually are. You could always add it in with a white pen, but on something this small, it's just easier for me to just leave a little bit of white there. Okay. So we've got our kitties. Now we got to start dressing our girls. So since we're working on her, what color dress should we give Tabitha? While you're thinking of that, I'm going to go ahead and use an E50 down here on the sliced bread. around the edge on that one too. A dark teal. I like that, Christiana. All right, so dark teal. I got to pull out the teal. All right. Let's start with a BG01 to 45, 49. And a little bit. All right. So I'm going to start with BG01. I'm just going to get my color down. This will be a nice contrast to that. I think the gray kitty is really going to pop nicely against this teal dress. You'll notice I'm leaving some parts kind of white. It's because I want to create the illusion of some pleats going on in that dress, especially on that side where we're getting a lot more light hitting. Then I start putting in my darker colors. It's going to be pretty heavy-handed over here away from our light source. And our kitty is going to be blocking light too. Up to a 49. I'm not going to completely omit doing pleats over there, but they're not going to be as light as the ones on that side of her body. Now, the magic ingredient to really make this look like a dark teal, I'm going to jump on over to a B39. And I just find that this particular color plays really nicely with these really blue-green, dark blue-green pens. And a little goes a long way. You don't have to go too crazy, but it's going to give us a really nice contrast. I just posted a photo of my Amy card on this page for tea, and whoever else wants to see it. Can't wait to check it out after the video is over. All right, so now we're going to work our way back down. We're going to start knocking down that blue, that B39 that I just put down. And it's just going to kind of become a nice dark shadow for these BGs. This is the magic of layering color, layering the copic markers. You can kind of manipulate the results that you get a lot more, I find, with this kind of coloring. I think this will be cute. At the end, don't let me forget, I think we'll put some white polka dots on it. And then the BGO one that we started with for all our lightest areas. Like so. There we go. Like I said, I think that'll be cute. We'll do her little collar. Just using a really light gray. Oh, just whatever's handy here. Let's see. I've got, here's an N2, that'll work. We'll just do a nice white kind of Peter Pan collar on her dress here. I didn't use W's because I don't want it to be matchy-matchy with the cat. But any of the other grays would have worked. I think I'm going to go even a little bit darker, N4, just on this side here. Just a quick little dash of it and right behind the kitty to really show that it's getting not as much light in those two spots. So, and then I'm just going to grab the colorless blender. Ah, there it is. Just to transition out to the white a little bit smoother. There we go. Okay, let's give her little brown boots. I think if we went black, it'd look a little, start going more wintry, and I want to keep it kind of springy. So I think little light brown boots will look cute with her teal dress. So I've got my E35. And see, we're just kind of chipping away piece by piece. You break down these scenes and, you know, tackle one thing at a time. Get the big stuff out of the way early so you can concentrate on all the little details at the end. And, you know, before you know it, you have a finished scene colored. All right, so we did 35. Let's go. I don't want it to be exactly the same as her hair. So I'm not going to, I was thinking about 57, but I'm going to go 27 instead, just so it's a little different from her hair up there. Back to 35. I guess I'm going to need it lighter. Let's do, oh, where's my 31? There we go. So she's got little brown boots she's wearing. Now we need a color for her little sweater and a different color for her skirt. And I'll just continue working on this bread down here while we wait for suggestions to come in on her clothes. So now I just got E31. for the crust of that bread. All right, so we've got pink coming in. Are we thinking pink for the sweater or pink for the skirt? And we'll do 34. Yep, we can do a floral print. Let's do a little floral print, let's see, on the skirt, I think. Okay, so pull out our paint. Put our blues away. All right, pink, pink, pink. What kind of pink do I want to do? Let's do nice light. All right. So I've got RV00 out. Just going to give her little sweater. Quick base of that. Then RV02. We'll start mapping out our dark areas with this. That arm is going to cast a shadow. We've got darker on the back side of that arm. It's further away from our light source we've established. Okay. Then to 13. Just kind of continuing to get darker with each marker. And the darker I get, the more I'm using just the tip of the pen to get a finer line. And then I'm going to jump to 34. Sandra, make it look so easy. Well, it is and it isn't. It is so easy with practice. I mean, it's not a big mystery. It's not a big, it's not rocket science that we're doing here. We're having fun. We're coloring. But I will say, time and practice does give you an ease and a confidence, that, you work a little bit more, you've got more sure of hand, more confident in your color choices. And that makes it appear, and it makes it easier so, you just got to stick with it and put the time in and the practice and, enjoy what you're doing as you're doing it and enjoy each stage of your coloring journey as you're doing it. Because, that's what's going to lead to your next kind of breakthrough and your next advancement in your coloring. You got to love what you're doing. Been trying for 6 years and I still can't get my colors to look like that. 6 years is a great start. I've got about 5 years on you. So this is about 11 years of coloring practice with my copics. So don't get disheartened. I wasn't where I am now 5 years ago. So you're still on that journey and don't get down on yourself. Keep practicing and keep playing. Back to that very light 0.00. And then you'll notice I don't take my lightest colors all the way back because I don't want to lose that contrast that I've gotten back there. I will fill in that little bit of white space I left. Okay. Now I think for her skirt, I'm going to start with a little bit of E40. We'll make our little pleats. It's going to be a white-based skirt, kind of a natural cotton type white. And I'll go ahead and use that for the white of her little undershirt as well, that we see kind of rolled up at her sleeves and at her collar. E41. I think I'm even going to grab out just a smidge. I like to put in a tiny bit of this E81, this ivory, whenever I'm doing kind of a natural cotton white. It just is a nice touch. Okay. Jump back down to my E40. But again, because I want this to look like a white skirt, I'm not going to color in the entire skirt. I want to leave some white highlights at the tops of those pleats. Just like so. Let that dry before we add our print in, because you definitely, whenever you're adding a print to an article of clothing or whatever you're coloring, if you try to do it too soon when the paper is still saturated with that ink, you won't get a nice crisp pattern or print, because those colors will tend to want to bleed a little bit when you're working on a wet saturated surface, which is great for when you're blending. Makes it so working quickly. The quicker you can work and keep that paper kind of wet, the easier you'll get those blends. But in the situation where we don't want it to blend and we want it to stand out, you want to be patient and let that dry. Okay, so usually when I'm doing that, that's when I kind of bounce around and go to a different part of the project that I'm working on. So like I've been kind of playing with the bread down there a bit, you'll notice. And I'm going to continue. So I think I'll finish off the bread while we let her white skirt dry. So I'm going to add a little bit of E55, just kind of where I want the turn, where it to be a little bit darker, away from the light. Okay. And then I had E34 before that. And I'll pull. I'm being much more generous with my dark color on this side of the loaf of bread. I'm leaving it kind of lighter over there. And I'll smooth out that with the E31. So we've got a nice crusty loaf of bread there for them to enjoy at their picnic. And then I used the E50 on the inside of the bread. Amy, which stamping pad do you use? For this one, I use the Memento Rich Cocoa. I have the Memento Tuxedo Black that I use a lot too. I also use their London Fog for a gray. I really like those. I really like the softness that stamping in the brown ink creates with these Hello Bluebird characters. So a lot of the time when I'm using my Hello Bluebird, I use this rich cocoa because I just like that little bit softer look, a little bit more storybook look that it gives them. Okay, so I think we've given our skirt time to dry, but now I'm thinking I should have gone ahead and hit her little socks down here while I was at it. So I'm just going to really quickly put in a little bit of E41 and E81 and call it good. They're pretty small, so I don't have to overblend or go crazy down there. That's your favorite too. There is a reason they do work great. Okay, so let's add our little print to our little cutie down there. And let's do a mix. So we're definitely going to have some pink so it'll coordinate with her sweater she's wearing. So I'm just going to do little 3. She's pretty small, so I don't want to go too big with anything. So I'm basically doing little 3-petaled, just 3 little hash marks. Now, in some places, you're not going to see all 3, and that's what's really going to sell this as being a print. As it goes into a pleat, you might only see 2. As it wraps around the edge of the skirt, you might only see 1 here and there. You don't want to just show only the stuff that would show all 3 petals. It wouldn't be realistic that way. Where the fabric gets cut off, you're not going to see all of a print. But we're just going to hint at it being there. Like so. Now, I'm going to grab like a Y18. And we will just do some more tiny prints. Our little 3. Here and there. Just to get a little bit more color showing on our skirt. And then, of course, our little flowers need little green leaves. So I think I'm going to pull out, let's see, that's a good nib. So YG25, just any green. We'll just dot on little spots of green here and there. For little leaves with our little blossoms. There. And there, just as simple as dotting color on. It's just being patient, putting your base coat down first to get your pleats in, and give it a little bit of movement and shading. And then just, random little dots in certain patterns, and you'll get, the eye will read it as a little floral print, and it's very easy to do. Cheryl, holy cow, late to the party, but it looks amazing. Well, we're happy to have you now, Cheryl. Yeah, we've colored a lot. We've still got a ways to go. So, you got some fun. We've got some fun ahead of us. All right. So what am I going to tackle? Oh, let's go ahead and do her little shoes there. Sandra, beautiful. Thank you, Sandra. I'm going to grab out that E27. She's going to get some little brown Mary Janes. And down to the E23. It's kind of like the cat's nose over there. If I leave a little bit of white, it makes it look like a shinier, more patent leather kind of shoe. So I tend to do that, especially on these little Mary Jane type shoes. All right, I think, let's see. Let's go ahead and do her little bow in pink too. I thought about yellow, but with her having blonde hair, I think it'll be a nicer contrast to just go ahead. And I don't want to do like green because we got a lot of green going on with our grass. So it'll just be best to have a pink bow back there. And we've got the markers out. Makes it nice and easy. Finish off with that 00. Okay. So we're getting close. We're getting there. Now, let's see. I think I'm going to pull out RV 25. And maybe 23. Maybe I should leave out the 13. We'll go 13, 25, 29. Okay. So I've got the jam. Oh, that's right. Thank you, Christiana. She does have bands in her pigtails. They can be any color. Let's go ahead and make those yellow. Yellow always looks good with teal. I like the idea of adding a little pop of yellow over here. Just like that with the Y18 that we used on her skirt. So we're kind of coordinating back and forth. All right, so we've got our little jar of jam. I'm going to put a little bit in the top of that jar. I'm starting with that RV13, and I'm also going to put some on the top of this slice of bread. It is a labor of love, and that's kind of how I approach a lot of my, not all my cards. I definitely do some simpler cards and simpler scenes, but, you know, I had the time today, and I really had this vision for pairing these two girls together, so I figured, why not? It was the perfect day to just go for it. I was thinking a checkered blanket too, Joyce, so we're on the same page there. I like it. Now I'm just kind of dotting in. You know, it's that little strawberry preserve. Give it a little bit of texture and call it good. All right, so now, let's see. Just going to grab out, C2 will work. Just hit that little butter knife and the little spoon and the jam. A little bit of C2 and maybe a little bit darker. Oh, like C4 will work. And thanks for doing it. It's my pleasure. It really is. Like I said, being currently unemployed because of the sheltering in place leaves me with a lot of time on my hands. So I love crafting and creating. Why not do it, and do it with you guys? All right, I'm going to take care of those rocks while we're at it. I'm just going to grab some grays, some random grays. Let's start with a T2. Color them in. I think I got another rock right back here. And then I like to play around on my rocks. So from like a T2, I might go up to a W5. And put my shadow in with a warmer. Color, because it's just makes them look a little bit more natural when you play around with the different grays on the stones. And like I might even pull out, so I had a T2, I've got a W5. Maybe I'll grab like an N3. Would it be hard to make the jam jar look clear? Not too hard. We can do that. So I'm just pulling those colors out with an N3. So I've used 3 different gray markers, gray families on those stones. I'll just finish back off with that T2. Even adding in like some E40s works really well in stone too. We want to put it down first. But you can really play around with different kind of granites and sandstones and that kind of stuff just by playing with different marker combinations. Let's see. Let's go ahead even. Well, why not throw a C in there too? Let's use one from each family. And we'll add some little speckled spots on these stones. Okay. So before I put that stuff away. All right, so for our little jar, I'm going to grab out like a BG11. I'm going to kind of give us a little bit of blue-green. Kind of the light hitting it, but we're mostly keeping it white. I'm going to want to go a little darker than that. So I'm going to grab, there it is, a little bit of BG53. And just very fine line. I'm going to pull up. The lip of that jar as well. Now, to make it look like we've got jam actually in there, I'm not going to want it to be as dark as what's showing at the top of the jar because it's not obscured by glass, but this will be obscured by glass. So we want to go with a lighter color than we have up here. We started our combination with an RV13, so I think I'm going to start with that. And you don't want to take it all the way up. You want to leave a little lip of that white showing. And then kind of the same down here. You just kind of put, and it's not going to go all the way to the edges. And it's not going to go all the way to the bottom because you got to imagine the thickness of the glass creating a barrier. Like so. And then I'm just one more time going to take my BG BG11 was the first marker you ever owned. Isn't that funny how you can remember that? I have a very good friend who got started copic coloring when I was helping her. I was working at a local scrapbook store at the time, and she bought her very first copic markers from our store, and to this day she can remember. I think it was like RV 23 or something like that. One of those bright, or RV06 or something. I can't remember, but she sure can. And it always tickles me that she can remember her very first copic that she purchased. Back to that BG11. Just right in. Pulling it, but still leaving white. We want to leave plenty of white. And there we've got a little clear jar of jam down there. So now we need to come up with colors for our little cups and the plate. Are we just going to leave them white, or do we want to make them colorful? I think my first copic colors were the skin tones. I know, like E00 and E11, because I placed an order. I think I started with like 10 or 12 markers. And I know for sure those skin tones were in there. But I can't remember exactly specifically the very first one. Let's see. What color did we come up with a color for our little plates and cups and plate? Sarah is saying blue. We can do blue. Oh, Diane's in with white. Well, here, I got a solution. I'm going to do little white bodies on our cups and our plate. And I'll use like a C1 to kind of pull that out and soften it a bit, but I want to leave a lot of white if we want these to read as white cups. We just want them to have a little bit of shine to them. Same with the plate down here. Then we'll take a blue. Let's see, what blue do we want to use? Let's use B12. Well, that's okay, Joyce. You can always, this will, after we finish, I will save this video in my Adventures in Coloring with Amy Facebook page, and you can always watch the replay and just kind of skip ahead to the part with the jar. And then we'll maybe do the lip on the plate in that blue. There we go. I think maybe I'm getting a little redundant, but I'll add a little bit of darker blue on the darker side. And then just pull it out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Nice compromise. Now we just got to come up with a color for our little checkered blanket down there. Lost my train of thought for a moment. Yes, the stripe is very simple. And it's very, you get kind of the best of both worlds that way. You get that nice shiny cup and just a hint of color there. All right. Red and white. I think we'll go that route. I'm not going to use the true reds, I don't think, because I don't want it be kind of jarring with all our pinks and teals and stuff. So I'll probably use very similar pinks to what I used on the jam that kind of read more as red. But I do like that idea. So let's go ahead, just like on her, and let's start with a base of the E40, 81, 41 on that blanket as well. Just got some little dips in the shadows and everything. Just kind of grounding everything into place, reinforcing any little waves and movement in the blanket as it's kind of on the lumpy grass. Okay. I'm not going to worry about blending that back. I'm going to let it sit and dry before we add our color on top. So while we let that, I think I'm going to pop in with, I want to add some more pops of yellow. So I'm going to make these little yellow flowers here. Got the YO2 out for these ones, and she's got a few of them in her basket as well. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of that Y18 to them. Okay. And I'm going to pull out, we'll just do 57 because it's right there. Then we'll make the centers on these little buttercups brown. Okay. Now let's add a little bit of purple in. Kind of pinky purple. With these little guys here. And let's see. I think those are the only two like that I'm seeing. And then I'll go up to my RV66. This one I might just back with that 63, soften a little bit the transition of color. There we go. So we got that. Let's do, how about a BV 13 on these little bells here with like a BV 17. just kind of keeping it quick, keeping it simple, because there's such a little part of the scene. We don't, you don't have to go crazy blending or anything. Just find two contrasting, a light and a dark, and go from there. All right, so we got some little like tulip type flowers. Let's bring in some more pink, I think. Let's go RV10. And RV14. Like so. Okay. And then we just have that guy there. I'm going to add in a little bit of YR04 and over here. A little bit of 18. Okay. I might as well keep out. Let's see, let's go ahead and use YR23. Gives us a nice straw looking basket. With the YR24. And then I'm going to jump over to like an E37. Again, just working quickly. I'm not, looking to be super detailed on these little parts and pieces. They're just getting quick hits of color and they come together. Just like so. Okay. It does look like I missed a couple leaves. So I'll just add some more green in here and there. I can't really remember the greens I used, so I'll just kind of hit them all again with this one. So amazing. It's finally starting to come together. We are almost done. We are so close. So close. All right, so for our little checkers, actually, let's go. $43 to $35 to get that kind of old worn look. Okay. So I've got R43 out. And I think let's give it a little edge to contain our print. Okay. I'm just hitting it here and there, and where the little bumps are, so that I have some contrast. Back to that 43, just to one more time blend those two together, smooth them out. Got a little wide over there, that's okay. All right, so I like that. Now our little checker. I'm gonna run and I'm kind of following the artist drawn lines. So where they bend, I try to bend. Okay. And then let's use our 35 to come this way. Let's see, I gotta kind of imagine one going through here, so we'd see a little bit of a line there. I can pick back up here. One more line. There we go. Just like that. Create magic. Marker magic. I'll take that. I'll take that. That's a good title to have. I don't mind that one bit. All right. Well, look at that. Yeah. Just under 3 hours. We got that scene done. So, oh my gosh, what a marathon of coloring, but it was so worth it because look how cute they are. I want to go to that picnic. Oh, before I forget, I was going to add some white polka dots. I've got my Sharpie extra fine, but any white gel pen that you might have on hand will work. There we go. I just don't want it to. There we go. I'm just going to create a polka dot. I think it'll lighten up, be a little bit more spring attire on this dress. Add some polka dots in here to that print. Yeah, I think this is really cute. Okay, Oh, and I like to add some like baby's breath over here in our little basket. It's just good filler and it brightens up. Anytime you have a little bouquet in an image, I like to dot in little bits of white here and there, like there's little baby's breath. I just find it to be a cute touch. Okay, maybe do a little bit more down here. Cuteness. Now we're done. Oh, your husband said, wow, you're good. Well, thank you very much. I'll take that compliment. Joyce, just keep at it. Just keep at it, and I promise you will get there. It's practice. It really is. I don't have a magic wand. If I did, I'd wave it over everybody, but it really comes down to just, being inspired and being excited to create and just coloring every day. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. This was quite the marathon. Even if you weren't able to stick around the whole time, I appreciated everyone who just popped in and said hello. I had a wonderful time. I can't wait to make this into a card. Probably end up sharing it sometime this weekend, next week at the latest. Right now, my next live is planned for next Thursday, so a week from today. I don't have any idea of what I'm going to be coloring next Thursday. So maybe I'll just start a little thread on my Adventures in Coloring page and see if anybody's got any suggestions. So we'll see who inspires. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm going to go grab a late lunch and then see what kind of trouble I can get myself into here at the house. So stay safe, stay healthy, and stay crafty, my friends, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.